Hello, everyone. You are listening to Sleep Over Podcast. This is Layla Bernard.
And Carolyn Elliott.
And our special guest today at the After Hours Candlelit Bantha Tea Bar is...
Crystal Woodling.
Yeah. So here we are having a entrance into Scorpio season chat about the Dark Mother and our love of death and our deep contemplations on the obsession between contraction and individuation and infinity and expansion, and how, God, isn't that really just the kinky back and forth push-pull play behind it all that we're enjoying talking about here, just in a light chat between girlfriends in a tea bar, you know? So we thought we'd invite you all into that.
Gossip, really.
Yes.
Yeah, just, light.
Astral gossip.
Astral gossip.
Infinite babes talking about their favorite boyfriend, like the fascination with the ego.
Hadith. Yeah, so we were just talking about Nuit and Hadith. So, in Egyptian lore and in Crowleyana, right, like Hadith being this principle of infinite contraction, like the single point that is total concentration.
David has talked about it in the rune tradition as the six-pointed rune that looks like a asterisk. I forget its name. Hail. Right?
I don't know if that's the name, but it's like a hail. Hagalaz, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like an asterisk, but it's the same idea. Yeah. Like, this idea exists among different culture or different traditions, that like there's this concept of total contraction and like singular identification.
And then Nuit being like this principle of like total infinite expansion that goes on and on and on, the vast starry body of the goddess.
The universe itself expanding endlessly, discovering itself as it goes.
Yeah. And so the other night I was contemplating Nuit and Hadith, and I was thinking like, oh, of course women with like this connection with the Nuit energy of expansion and like, how a female orgasm can go on and on and on and on. Of course, we created patriarchy and are like super attracted to like being oppressed and in bondage and like
servitude, smallness, inferiority, weakness.
Because Nuit is attracted to Hadith. Right. They're the polar opposites. The vast expansion and the vast like wombs that we are, these portals of life and death. Of course, we're attracted to like whatever the opposite of that is.
The constricting story, the like constricting point. I mean, I've definitely had really profound, I'm not sure if I've talked about this on the podcast before, but we're talking about it again. I've definitely had profound experiences of the love-making between Hadith and Nuit in a sensory deprivation float tank. If you've never done that, I highly recommend seeing if there's one in your area. Just feeling the boundlessness of the night that is your own inner space when you are deprived of stimulation. There's no light, there's no sound. You're in, water where it's the same temperature as your body, so you don't even really feel it. You're really conscious of the Nuit-like nighttime expansiveness. You can go anywhere in your mind. You can just travel out. And yet, like, the experience that I had that was so beautiful was I became aware in the, quiet stillness of that experience, like, I became aware of my beating heart. I became aware of my own heartbeat. And I was just like, this is just like when we first met, heart. Like this vast, floating, impersonal consciousness is like, ooh, a little flutter in the darkness. What are you? What shall we be? And anyway, I just think that's, in each of us is that lovemaking between the infinity of everything that we could be and everything that we could know and everything that our soul has ever experienced, and like the precious desire to like be I in this form, in this life, with this story, and read these lines. Like, it's a very precious drama. It's like very sweet. They love each other so much. And the ego, I think, gets into a lot of suffering because she also wants to reconnect with the infinitude of everything, like that's kind of like the spiritual seeker's story, is that, as the ego identified seeker, you're like, but I long for the infinite. I long for the greater, for the great beyond, for the darkness. And then you find that she's also reaching for you, being like, I long to be you.
And of course, like, I feel like the real magic that pops up within that constriction, like what's discovered on the other side, is that the infinite can be found within each piece of herself. Right. And that constriction is this portal where you get to let go of all of the other possibilities. Right. Like it's a gift to have your energy kind of like pulled through this one particular channel without having to exert any energy, without having to exert any force. And here,
oh my God, Crystal, you're making me trip so hard right now. You are tripping me out.
See? You don't have to do anything.
Just
be. All you have to do, just right here. Just this one point. Actually, you don't need anything else. No, not there. Right. No, not there. No, not there. No, not there. Here, here. Can you rest here?
Yeah.
Right? And then in that moment, it's like...
Then you pop out into the otherness.
Exactly.
Into the infinitude.
Like when you really sit in it. And that's like that's the gift that every great psychedelic offers. It's like, no.
Right.
If you're here, you get everything.
Right. If you're fully being, then you are in the kissing point between the Hadith and the Nuit, and you're like, okay, all right, okay. I have everything that I could ever want. Yeah. I have everything that I could ever want. I am dead and alive at the same time. Everything is precious. Nothing matters. Wow. Freedom. Boo.
Yeah. Ramalama Ding Dong. Hare Krishna. Hallelujah. Word to your mother.
Amen. Yeah.
Exactly. And what you were talking about, like that attraction to all of these, atrocities that apparently make us small, right? Each one of those apparent atrocities is an opportunity to see, look, it can even be here.
Yeah.
Look at how shitty I can make your life. Look at how much pain you can be in. Look at how disgusting this shit can get. Hey, guess what? Still here.
Well, totally. And like,
still infinity.
Yeah.
Still full of love. Still everything that you've ever been hasn't gone anywhere. Right? And you can keep pressurizing that shit. You can pressurize that all day long.
That's the fascinating thing about the goddess.
Not going to go anywhere.
Like, she can't actually be defiled.
I know that's like the most hideous, slutty, awful thing about her. I was talking about this with a friend
no matter
today.
what you do to her, she's a fucking holy virgin. What?
Like, exactly. I was like really vibing out with a friend of mine today, talking about how, like, I completely understand why we all hurl ourselves at each other so violently, trying to be like, violate me, because we just simply cannot be. It's like, of course it's our urge to like try and make it happen, because we just are really so utterly, deeply safe.
Because
I feel like we should.
I can still love you.
Yeah, I can still love you. I know. I feel like we should bring our listeners in a little bit, because we had warmed up before this conversation with a whole really beautiful invocation of how much we all three of us raised a glass of kava to the great Mother Death herself, the giver of all blessings, the giver of all life, the mother of all things, and just. I really appreciate here at the turning of the year, when the veil is thinning in Scorpio season, the okayness of death and the beauty of passing from life into
the
beauty,
the absolute necessity, the vastness, the great kingdoms of death that we tend to completely ignore or defile or think is something
And
that
hate.
it's small. Yeah, definitely hate.
Right,
Fear.
fight against.
Because we put absolutely no energy, or we put very little thought to the enormity of the gifts
Yeah.
that
Come out of death.
death provides, or that death is.
I know.
Right, we started talking a little bit about all of the various worlds and realms of the invisible that only the dead get to live within, right?
Indeed.
Or only those who, allow death to become an intimate part of their psyches, or something that they
Yeah.
accept as being within their bodies. There are cells dying within you constantly.
Constantly.
Right? Like death is a necessary activity for life, and we
Crystal,
are terrified of it.
we are terrified of it as a culture. We eschew death, and it's the same as the fear of, it's the ultimate fear of the feminine and the unknown and the insane. And I was sharing with Carolyn and Crystal that, I've just lately been really feeling how the longing for death is the longing for union with God. When you remove all the stories about how life is shitty and life is suffering, and if you get rid of all story, underneath the desire to die is the desire to lay your head down in the lap of the divine and just like be with it. And one can do that without leaving this body, it's always possible to lay one's head down in the lap of the divine and just be like, I surrender. And that's really all death ever would give you. That's all
while
it would ever,
still alive.
Die while still alive. Just lay it down into the beautiful, expansive love. Carolyn was alluding to, or maybe this was recorded, I don't know. We were having this wonderful conversation about death. Carolyn gave me this amazing advice over the summer that changed my life. Truly, Carolyn killed me, and I am eternally grateful to her for it. She told me because I, was realizing how much I loved death and was so curious about what happens when people die.
And you were worried that there was something wrong about it, like that you were suicidal or something.
No, I knew that I wasn't suicidal, but I was like looking for a teacher who would tell me what to do with that impulse in myself. I trusted myself enough to know that I was like, no, I love life. Like I love my friends. I love my family. I love good food. I love good weed. I love the sunshine. Like I do not want to like leave this fleshy vessel. Like I love my body, whatever. But like, I was just like, no, it's revealed to me that I'm obsessed with death. And so Carolyn was the wise person that I was looking for. And she gave me the amazing advice to just tune in to the vibration of death and to be that and to live that. And I was like, wow, okay, very simple. What does that mean? I think I will try. And I went home that night and laid down in my bed and was like, okay, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to give into the vibration of death. And it took me a minute to like really feel into it. And there was a moment where I thought that it was going to be like where my heart started to contract with fear. And I was like, but that's not death, that's fear. And so I was like, what's the opposite of that? And I just felt myself open so much and release so much. And I just really allowed myself to imagine that I was leaving from this world, departing, did not have to take a single thing with me, did not have to like worry at all about any of the pending worries, cares, concerns, debts, stories, blah, 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 responsibilities. And I just let myself utterly relax into it. It was incredible. I thought it was only happening for a few seconds, but then I woke up 5 hours later and was like, have I slept? I think I did. My body feels rested, but my consciousness was just just went somewhere else for the night and came back when my body woke up. It was very beautiful. And also it taught me a lot about the just expansive, loving nature of death. It's like, it's an expansive vibration that just like, it's utter surrender, it's just utter acceptance, utter beingness without any fighting against the flow. It was very beautiful.
That is very beautiful. That's an experience that I feel like not a lot of people can let themselves have, because so much of their lives are the story of their lives, or a lot of the cultural narrative is so wrapped up in this need to remain living, or this need to perpetuate some kind of identity or a...
But, like, what a horrible joke to have been played on us
terrible.
from a very young age, because, like, we will all die. Like, it will happen, and it's going to be awesome when it happens. Like, you can hang out with it before it happens. You don't have to, like, be sad.
And you can learn to respect and interact with the realms of the invisible. Yeah. Where many of our dead are. Like, there are finer details. There are beauties. There are connections. There are relationships that can be formed in...
And isn't that so much of what synchronicity is? Isn't that so much of what, like, synchronous happenings in our life are? Is, like, the manifestation of other realms that coexist with ours, like, communicating from the invisible. I mean...
You know what this is reminding me of? Is that book On Caro Gwyn, Robin Artisan. Robin Artisan makes a really beautiful argument that all of the fairy stories in the UK are basically the remnants of mystery traditions and traditions connected to ancestors and the underworld, and that the fairy king and queen are sort of like diminished, like, forms designed to be, like, not threatening to the church of, like, the lord and lady of the underworld, you know, like Pluto and Persephone. And that, like, the wild hunt is when the ancestors, like, ride through the sky and come looking to bring people to join them, and you gotta propitiate them if you don't want to be, like, taken up in the wild hunt. And yeah, just the way that, like, fairyland is the world of the dead, like that. There's all these folk tales about, like, people died and then other people saw them with the fairies, you know?
Yeah.
I just think that
it's a coexisting realm that, like, you tune into or out of depending on your relationship to matter. And, like, it's totally possible, like Crystal's talking about, like, anybody who's done psychedelics knows, like, you can tune your brain into the different layers of presence that are coexisting all the time. We just choose not to, and our culture has a huge level of disrespect for the factual reality of those other consciousness realities that coexist with this very dense material one.
And a deep fear.
Yeah, a deep fear.
I mean, so much of our... I mean, how many shows have there been on hauntings? Or, I mean, you're taught from a very young age to be afraid of the invisible. You're taught from a very young age to be, deeply afraid of voices in the dark, rather than rather than respecting them and learning about them. Right. I mean, it has been a huge challenge for me to overcome fears, to be able to interact with those beings from a place of respect and consciousness, and knowing that, this is something that is, guiding my soul.
Crystal, I just want to say that listening to you talk about this right now, and, like, looking at your beautiful face in this lighting with this, like, wooden staff behind you and this, like, old timey winch, I just, like, really tuned in to, like, I was like, oh my God, Crystal. Like,
are you seeing the face of the Witch of Endor?
I'm just seeing, like, you are just, like, very clearly explaining to me, you're like, of course, Layla, people are afraid of being witches, because there was a period where we were all killed for being witches, and then the next generation of mothers was like, don't you dare tell anyone that you heard that voice. Don't you dare listen to that. Don't you dare believe in that. Don't you dare go there. Do not. But you're totally right that, like, we all have those experiences as kids, and we either follow them and are like, no, I actually think they're my friends. Like, I actually think there's something to learn there. I'm curious. Or we tune out and are like, that's not real. That's like just mental illness. That's just crazy talk. You're just crazy. Or we get scared.
Or it's kid stuff.
or it's kid stuff.
You have to grow up.
Right, you have to grow up. Ah, yes. Yes, you have to grow up. Or it's terrifying, scary stuff. Yeah. Or it's like a joke. Ha ha ha. Those people think they're psychic.
Exactly.
Condescension.
Yeah. Diminished, belittled, just like the feminine always
is. I even want to like stop calling it the feminine and just start calling it death. Because that is what people are actually afraid of, is death.
Well, and
chaos.
And the unknown.
Death, chaos, the unknown.
Death equals the unknown, equals the unconscious, equals the
chaos.
feminine,
Yeah. And I feel like there's just a part of me that's like...
And the mutable.
The changeable. Yeah, the grinding, the Ouroboros,
because,
sickly, weirdly eating itself.
Because the other realms that aren't material at least appear more changing.
Right.
They appear more ephemeral.
Right.
Right? Dreams, visions, even in psychedelic states. It's like, it's
more fluid.
It's the essence
right.
of the ephemeral.
Right.
You can't capture it. You can't record it. You can make a painting of it, but it loses its, a lot of its power, right? And we value that which is stationary. We value security. We need, to know that this is going to keep happening.
Measure, count.
We are going to do this the same way over and over again, reliably, so that we can put it in a factory, so that we can write about it, so that other people can get
about
results.
the science, the debasement of the science, whatever. Okay, so the way that science requires that an experiment be repeatable by anybody under the same setup is so fucking silly, given that everybody has a different quality of consciousness, and we now know from all the quantum stuff that
the observer effect.
Who is observing the experiment affects things greatly. And as Kierkegaard said, subjectivity is truth. I just find it so fascinating that we as a culture have dismissed whole giant swaths of experience,
knowledge,
as just nonsense because it's not repeatable in mechanical fashion by anybody.
Well,
because
the funny thing is, I think me and Hannah were talking about this the other night, that the funny thing is that it is actually repeatable by anybody through mechanical performing of the experiment. People can raise their consciousness through the doing of rituals and whatever, but you will never verify it from outside. Yeah. That's the thing, is that you can only trust that the other person has experienced it or not. You will never get to know whether they did or not. It is totally repeatable, but it's not verifiable from the outside.
Well, it's repeatable, but it might take years of doing the repetitions, right? Years of spiritual practice to open those senses to have that possibility, or taking medicines under specific conditions is a route. But yeah, that the fact that we can't, here's what is interesting to me though, which is that we usually define the objective world as something that we can have shared experiences in, right? I can tell you, hey guys, meet me at the tea shop, and you can meet me at the tea shop. But people have done experiments with lucid dreaming, and there's whole communities of people who are able to meet up in lucid dreams, and they record their experiences, and then they get on the internet forums and they compare notes, and there are objective or at least shareable places within the dream world that you can meet people in. One night when I was in my 20s, I had a dream. I was doing a lucid dreaming practice, and I was taking mugwort tea every night, and I wound up one night in a dream. I was in this dingy diner in Baltimore. It was all brown, smoke stained. Hold on, baby. And I was talking to one of my ex-boyfriends who I hadn't seen in a long time. And hold on, wait. Auntie Crystal, would you spin her around just so I can tell this story? Thank you so much. Crystal is great at entertaining me. No? Okay. I was talking to one of my ex-boyfriends, and I was like, man, are you dreaming too? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, do you want to talk to me in real life? Because I kind of missed the guy. And he was like, definitely no. And I was like, okay, that's cool. But wait, is everybody else here dreaming? And like people in the diner like turned around and looked at me and were like nodding. And they were talking with each other about their other dream experiences with each other. It was like a lucid dreamer dingy diner meetup. In Baltimore, in astral Baltimore.
Whoa, that is so cool, Carolyn. You have the most amazing relationship to the dream world.
No. Crystal does.
Okay. I haven't heard
Mine
all
is
of Crystal's stories.
very second rate in comparison with the places that Crystal goes. Crystal lucid dreams much more easily than I do, and she has better dream recall than I do.
It's only because I was an insomniac for the majority of my life, so I had nothing else to do.
Wow.
Carolyn's dreams are definitely epic. She knows it.
Carolyn is an epic dreamer.
Yes.
Well, you know what's another funny story is one time you were there, right? We made a pact to like meet up in dreams. We were like doing a ritual for this kind of lucid dreaming experiment.
And we founded New Pittsburgh.
And as we were doing, but even in the moment as we were doing the ritual, we all like got chills because we realized that we had already done the ritual to meet up on Earth
in this life,
in Pittsburgh, in this level of the dream, and that we were already successfully objectively lucid dreaming together.
What? It's true.
Was that the Blue Lotus ceremony at the Shady Side House?
I have a memory of being with Angela at Annie's house.
Oh, yeah. That was later.
What? And you guys founded New Pittsburgh?
Well, then we started having dream experiences. Oh, this baby's cranky.
Go into New Pittsburgh.
Tell her about New Pittsburgh.
Okay, well, not long after that, I'm pretty sure it was in the same night, Carolyn and I both found the same city that it was like on
the same astral place.
The same astral place, yeah.
Wow.
It had, beautiful church on a hill, it had beautiful fountain, it was, like a very charming, almost, I would say like a Renaissance.
It had giant quartz crystals growing out of the ground. Very adorable little cottages. Like I had a very adorable little cottage there. And there was a clock tower in the middle of it.
Yes.
And Crystal, didn't you you flew up and you saw like the face of the clock tower, right? And I had just seen the clock tower from below on the ground. And but yeah.
We realized it was that it was the same place. Yeah. And we called it New Pittsburgh.
Wow,
We've been
that's
there
so cool.
several times since then and done various
there's also
workings there.
There's like there's a field of horses that run around outside the town. They're like multicolored horses, like in the Wizard of Oz. And it's a cool place.
And I think we've all visited the great costume rooms for our New Pittsburgh tribe. I've had a lot of different lucid dreams. I'm pretty sure. Carolyn, you've been there too in the costume rooms, right? Yeah. You're basically like getting dressed up and ready for new roles or new souls taking.
Oh my God, that's so sweet. The costume room of reality. Well, if the maps of consciousness are to be believed, there are definitely so many different rooms and nooks and crannies in the great beyond between here and the total dissolution into the infinite oneness. And between here and there lies death, beautiful death, where our minds just reside in all these beautiful places. And I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for like honoring death with me here tonight and like really raising a toast to the great grandmother death.
To great grandmother death and to the union of Hadith and Nuit.
Of the hot lovemaking of Hadith and Nuit. Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Farewell.